And we are recording. Thank you for joining us for Oakland Creates Exhibitor Spotlight. Today we have Anna Zusman. And first of all, I want you to go ahead, Anna, and give me your pronouns and then talk a little bit about your association with the San Francisco Bay Area. I know you're currently living in Arkansas, but talk a little bit about your association with the Bay Area and your pronouns, please.
Okay, so pronouns are she, her. Association with Bay Area. So I fell in love with the place when I came for my cousin's wedding, but I didn't really think I lived there until I started applying to grad schools, and I applied to San Francisco Art Institute and got in. And that's how I came to San Francisco and fell in love with it and stayed there for 10 years until I moved to Arkansas for a job.
Nice. And
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, and Oakland specifically, actually, Shauna Y, who is also an artist and zine maker, brought me into one of the festivals, smaller festivals in Oakland, which AVU, I believe, organized, and that
Right.
was my first exposure to actually to the zine scene. Uh,
Wow,
so
cool.
yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't actually know that Shayna Y was the person that brought you in. So that's amazing. She's one of my favorite people. And zine makers and comics. She's an amazing artist. And so
Okay.
my that's a great segue into my next question, which is your inspiration for making art and zines and comics. I know you have a wonderful art practice of painting. I really enjoy your painting. So tell us a little bit about what inspires you.
So both in my paintings and my drawings and my zines, I thought a lot about it, and I think the inspiration is the same in a sense that it's something that tugs at me, something where I find myself making artwork based on the same topic, just multiple pieces, which means that there is a question that I have, something I'm trying to understand. So,
Mm,
for example, the first, I'm not sure if it's a zine or more of an art book because it wound up getting rather bulky, but my Mermaid Heritage uh, art book started with a series of drawings about mermaids. And at first, it was sort of very simple, like what would happen if mermaids were real, if they were part of regular society, how would society treat them? They would be sort of this ultimate outsider. And it grew into this big topic in my mind, like how would it all work? And it allowed me to work through a whole lot of issues and problems.
oh, cool. So also, is there any particular um thing that informs your work? Like I spoke to other people and they work off of nonfiction narratives about mental health or about their culture, identity. So is there something that informs your influences your work? My work is very subject based, nonfiction. Also, I also do a lot of zombies, as you know. But in terms of your work, is there something, a person that inspires you, or a place that you always come back to? You said you're answering a question for yourself, but is there any particular method to how you present it that will informs your work?
I think ultimately much of my work is, questioning stereotypes and conventions in some way.
Okay,
So I think that's the broadest sort of commonality that I see.
nice.
Most of my work is fiction, though some of my zines have been nonfiction. Like, for example, I've done a travel zine on my visit to Mexico City.
Cool.
And again, I think it's answering the question, but also probably a better way to say it would be trying to understand things better.
Right, right. Which I do too, and some of it is interesting that I'm into horror and gore and like a lot of bizarre, weird stuff, and then that's in terms of my fiction and fantasy and horror. But then when it's personal, that's how I approach it too. Like I want to investigate a subject and figure it out for myself. So that's really intriguing. Okay, now on to the fun questions, the goofy questions. If you could only eat three foods for the rest of your life, which three foods would they be?
Uh, just three. That's not much. Well, I love cheese. I couldn't imagine life without cheese. So like
Nice.
all varieties of cheese, but with cheese I'd have to have bread. Like it's bread and cheese.
There you
That
go.
that covers two. And I guess the third is fruit. If I could have all varieties of fruit, I'd be good.
There you go. Awesome. See that I was always worried about people answering this question that food combinations would be kind of gross, but that makes sense. That's a nice, relaxing, almost like a crudité. So my next question too. You get three. If you're deserted, you're on a deserted island, and you can only bring three people, living or dead, celebrity or just made up. What three people would you bring with you to a deserted island?
Uh, deserted island is it's a obviously it's a very separated from everything location. So on one hand, like yeah, I'd want to have conversations with Leonardo, but like how would he be in like day-to-day life? I'm not so sure.
Ah, I
And
didn't think
so
about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like could we deal with each other? Would he hate me? Like so I could say I'd bring three of my best friends, but I think all of them are gonna hate it there. Like
Ah,
absolutely detest it. So that's not very nice to drag people.
that's a common answer that everyone they bring gets along with them, but they don't necessarily get along with each other. So,
Yeah, no, it's not even that. I just don't think they would hate being on the desert island. All of them
ah,
like cities, all of them like,
gotcha.
families and things they're doing. So honestly,
Hmm.
I think maybe it's an opportunity to be on my own and try to see if I can make it on my own.
Ah, so there's no celebrities, no particular favorite person that you want to reunite with.
I mean, there are people, but I don't think it like see if it might be good for me, but it might not be good for them, and I
Ah,
I wouldn't want to do that to anybody.
funny. Okay, okay. Awesome. That's all I have for you. And you want to shout out your social media, your Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or your website. Let everyone know where they can find you.
So annazusman.com is my website, and that's probably the best way to see my work.
Cool.
There is also a link to my zines and art books, and where you can purchase them if you're interested.
Nice.
So that's probably the best way.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. And this is a fun time. I'm going to stop recording